all of you, did you or any of your associates participate in the secret Vice President Dick Cheney Energy Task Force in 2001?
We did not.
I testified previously. The answer is no.
No.
Yes.
And would you, Mr. Wall, could you make your documents related to that secret meetings available to the committee?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. We would make that request. Mr. Simon, listening to your testimony makes me even more convinced that we need to act to create an incentive for decision makers in industry to really make real investments in the clean energy revolution rather than relatively small ones. And the reason I say that is that listening to you, as far as I can tell, you're spending less than 0.5% of your gross revenues on clean energy research. Is that right?
It would be a very modest amount. I would acknowledge that, but I would not acknowledge that we're not doing a lot to address greenhouse gas emissions.
Well, considering that we have to cut our greenhouse gas emissions 80% in this country below our levels by 2050, would you agree that if your company continues on its present course, it will fall several hundred orders of magnitude short of what we have to do to prevent cataclysmic global climate change?
Well, the assumption there that that's required in order to do that.
Well, how is this going to happen? I mean, oil isn't going to all of a sudden become clean. We need to do the research to figure out these technologies.
No, but the fact is that we are going to have oil and gas and coal, and it's going to constitute about 80% of the energy equation. With that as a given, how do we then address and do what we can to mitigate greenhouse gas emissions with that being the case?
Would you agree with me, sir, that if Exxon continues on its present course of having less than 0.5% of its revenues associated with clean energy sources other than oil and gas, that the world is going to suffer significantly unless Exxon and its like changes its behavior?
No, I don't agree with that, and I think we can do a lot more in terms of mitigating greenhouse gas emissions by focusing on the areas that we are.
So where are these
transportation efficiency improvements for being one?
So where are these new? If you don't put research dollars into it, is it going to come from the oil ferry? Somehow these new technologies are going to show up?
No.
We got to put some real money in this, don't we?
Given the fact that, again, we've got oil, and it is in our equation, and it's going to be a significant factor. We're focusing on how do we make the use of that oil much more efficient.
Well, let me suggest, I hope that you'll go take from this hearing a much more optimistic viewpoint of our capability. You mentioned the money you're putting into Stanford. I was at Stanford last weekend talking to their scientists, and I was very excited by going over a report called A Renewable Energy Solution to Global Warming, presented by Mark Jacobson, Atmospheric Energy Program, Department of Civil and Environmental Engineering, Stanford University. And what they concluded, and I'll just read you a couple sentences in the summary, the U.S. could replace all on-road vehicles with battery electric vehicles powered by 71,000 to 122,000 5-megawatt wind turbines, less than the 300,000 airplanes the U.S. produced during World War II. Wind battery electric vehicles could reduce U.S. carbon dioxide by 25.5%. Solar battery electric vehicles can reduce it by 23.4%. Now, would you agree to me that this is a vision from Stanford, the folks that you are giving some money to, is one that the United States really needs, and that with your pathetically small research budget, we're not going to meet unless something changes?
No, I don't agree with that, Congressman, and I would invite you to go look for yourself at what we're doing in the Global Climate and Energy Project. I think you would find it to be quite significant. It has long-term, very significant impacts in terms of what it can do on the energy equation and greenhouse gas mitigation.
Well, we actually did ask your company to give us the investments they were making in this, and you refused to give it to us. But you've helped us by telling us less than 0.5%. Now, I can tell you that there's a lot of constituents that think that that is an inadequate contribution to the future of the planet Earth, and I just hope things change, and obviously we got to change them by changing this tax policy. Thank you.